All right. Hello and welcome to AiArthritis Voices 360. This is the official talk show for the International Foundation for Autoimmune and Autoinflammatory Arthritis. See the autos behind me.
I love the picture.
It's a conference. Yeah. So my name is Tiffany Westrich-Robertson. I am the CEO of the organization and also a person living with AiArthritis diseases. I have my primary is non-radiographic axial spondyloarthritis. I'm out of breath
Yeah, that'll do it.
saying that. And I am joined by long-term volunteer and my dear friend, love her, Deb Constien. Hi, Deb.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm good. It's been a day. So if anybody
Yes.
has tuned into
Yes.
any of the others today, something was happening with my internet. I've moved, I've relocated in my home, and we hope that we'll get through this one without interruption. But this
And she's
is
still at the auto show behind her.
I am, and I'm still at the look at that. I'm at the auto show. Uh,
Yes.
so there is a reason why I have this particular one behind me. So let me preface by saying we are doing this week the AI Arthritis Voices 360 talk show for our organization for the first time live and with video. Because
Which is
normally
awesome.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
you don't see us.
audio. You don't see us, you hear us. So if you do listen to podcasts, you can always find us at AI Arthritis Voices 360 and listen to us in your car when you're doing some cooking. But this is kind of fun. So we thought we would try this live because we were supposed to have our very first AutoBall, which is our gala. And the first time ever we were going outside and saying, meet us, see what we do. Because Deb, I mean, we've
Yeah.
been an organization online
Yes. For a
the whole time,
long time. Yes.
online. And the reason was because it's easier sometimes for patients to participate, right? If
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
online.
Yeah.
And that's why we set our organization up that way. But now we've expanded, we've grown, we've been doing so many amazing things, which is exciting,
Yes. It is super exciting.
super exciting.
Seriously, from like the time that I joined um IFAA till now, I am just we are a force to reckon with, man. We are
I
going
know.
places. We are going places.
And speaking of going places, you heard Deb say IFAA. That's how a lot of people know us. And
Yes, yes.
we are transitioning literally within, I mean, the last couple weeks only. So we were kind of announcing it here. We're moving that acronym to AI arthritis instead because it's more
Yes.
clear what we do, which is the whole point of
Yes.
why we're doing the AutoBall, because we want to take our work more offline, and we really want people to be clear of our mission and the disease
Absolutely.
cover. And so let me start by reiterating what our mission is and the diseases we cover.
Hmm.
So we started this organization as people living with autoimmune diseases or autoinflammatory diseases. Those are both diseases that derive from the immune system. So there's two sides. And so we realize that there's over 100 of those, but only a handful include arthritis as a major clinical component early in onset.
Hmm.
And that was that aha moment where we went, wait a minute, if we could narrow the focus, we could actually build the impact because we're focusing on the smaller cluster of diseases.
Yep.
So, and it was by patients, it was us talking that we
Yes.
realized that. And
Yep.
that became the foundation of, wow, we should not only have an organization that focuses in on these diseases, but we also realize that patients hold the key to identifying gaps that maybe others didn't because we have the lived experience. So our mission is literally to help others like Deb and I to have voices alongside other stakeholders. So whether that's
Yep.
doctors, researchers, other nonprofits, anybody who is involved in our realm of rheumatology,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
is a stakeholder. We are stakeholders. So we would sit side by side as equals. That's a key here, as
Yeah.
equals, to have conversations where we can problem solve issues that if we come up with solutions would impact education or awareness, advocacy or public policy legislation, and research. And Deb, I think this was your idea to do this particular breakout show
Yeah, because
for
I
this.
actually just saw the importance of it.
And tell everyone
Going
what
to
it is. Because we
going to
haven't said it.
conferences, right? Going to conferences. So Tiffany and I have we've gone to EULAR, which is the European version of the ACR that happens here in the United States.
And the
We've done
ACR is the
American
American.
College of Rheumatology. Yep, all these acronyms. And so we have gone to the ACR probably how many years now in a row? Is it 4 or 5? And then we've been to EULAR twice. And
Longer. First time we went was 2013 to the ACR. You
okay,
weren't there yet. You weren't with us
okay,
yet, but
okay,
that's the first time we
okay.
went as an organization.
Okay. So, right. And just to give a little bit of background about myself, I have had RA since I was 13 years old, and I'm 50 now. So 37 years of lived experience. And I am a dietitian, a retired dietitian, and research is a huge passion of mine as well. So that is kind of why I've partnered up with Tiffany to hit these conferences so we could actually earmark all the sessions that we want to attend that relate back to the diseases that again, it's not the Tiffany and Deb go and just have fun and go see what we want to learn about, in specific, but it is specifically related to AI arthritis. And we look ahead of time for weeks and we earmark all of these sessions and then we like line up, okay, is that one we can go together to, or is it one that we divide and conquer? You go to your session, I go to my session, let's report back. And it is amazing. So for years now that we've been doing this and partnering up, going to these conferences, we have met amazing global people from around the world. There are meetings in particular that people will come to us to schedule, and they want to hear about the latest and greatest things we are doing, and we are reporting back to them yearly. And it's actually twice a year because we see them at ACR and we see them
Mhm.
at EULAR.
Right.
Um, so it is amazing the relationships we have built and friends that we have that we have actually met. And it's the same people that keep asking us to keep coming back to the same meetings. And they reach out to us weeks before to see where we have openings to fit them in. And we make the most of our time. We are taking like ample notes. I'm taking screenshots of all um of the presentations that they have, and we're deciphering. And even our lived pictures. I remember, I forget which conference, I think, I forget which one we were at, but I think it was the one in Spain, in Madrid, where you and I were sitting on the floor in the back of the conference room, and we both had our shoes off and we were propped up against the wall
I'll
and
find that
listening.
photo and share it on this stream. I will find that photo.
Oh,
I
it
know what you're
is.
talking about.
Yes, it's amazing. And then we would come back and like do our, excuse the word, but vomit of everything that we had actually learned as we're sitting there eating dinner, whether it's just picking something up on the way back to the apartment and sitting there and have like getting into our comfortable clothes, no shoes, and debriefing, because we do
Mhm.
that at the beginning of the before we leave for the conference of everything that we anticipate learning, and then we do our debriefs after every day. And what was different, I believe at ULAR, we were doing some Facebook Lives, and we were kind of hinting at a lot of the sessions that we had actually sat in and what we were learning about. So it is as important to you as all of our listeners as it is to us to learn all the things that we're learning. And it's all about our mission, and it's about the diseases. And yeah, I just can't say enough about how much we do learn while we're there. And again, if we don't have the funds to get there, we can't, report back on the latest and greatest knowledge from science in real
Right.
time.
Right. So thank you for that overview, Deb. I've been writing notes, but see, now people can see it. I always say it on the podcast. I say I take serious notes. I really do.
She
Um,
always does.
I always do because because when you listen to what people have to say, which is exactly what our mission is, when you really listen and you take, I have a fuzz on.
It's like, go away.
I had to move because my internet was out and I'm sitting in a chair near where the cat sits. And all of a sudden I had this big
Fur.
fuzzball on my nose.
Yep.
So sorry about that. Um, but
I love it.
what I was going to say is that I take these various notes because I can circle back and pinpoint some of the things that you were talking about there. And
Yep.
that's what's so important is listening and being able to kind of connect those dots. So, so the thing about the conferences, like Deb said, I mean, they don't come for free. So we usually have to schedule, and it depends on the conference. Let me preface this.
Yep.
We have different conferences that we attend a year. And the big ones, there's two major ones that Deb mentioned, the American College of Rheumatology and the European League Against Rheumatism, or EULAR. And those are the scientific. So those are the biggest scientific meetings where you really understand and learn the new research and that's coming out. So it's a really huge learning experience for the
Yes.
rheumatology world. And that's
Mhm.
why we need to be there. There are other conferences we also go to throughout the year. Based on different parts of our mission, like it could be something to learn more about legislative efforts. We might go to something on biosimilars or just something very specific, but those two are the largest. And so for the smaller conferences, we often can get by with just one person, sending one
Yep.
person to go, especially if it's a localized. But we're going to spend the most time today really talking about those two because they are, we need to be at them if we're going to stay relevant
Yes.
in our community. The information is cutting edge. It is
Precision medicine to the nth degree.
yes, the topics, there are many topics. So if
Yes.
you get a brochure, or not a brochure, oh my god, you get a book. So you
It is a
get
book.
it's this with all of the different sessions that you can go to. And like Deb said, we're not just picking out, oh, this would be interesting for me. I want to go to
Yes.
that session because I know
Right.
that is easy to do. And
Oh, it is.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna preface, I'm gonna say that it's kind of funny because when we very first started going to the conferences, I remember having to sit around with everybody and I had asked, pick out the sessions that you think, we should attend. And then we sort of did a brainstorming meeting. And that very first time, it was, oh, I really think this would be interesting. Oh, I want to go to this. I
Yep.
have
Yep.
RA, or
I so
and I
remember that.
remember I remember kind of feeling
Back
like,
up.
oh,
Time out.
here's where the CEO has to come in and spoil everyone. So I said, okay, let's revisit here. We're here because we're an organization that has a mission to learn all we can about the diseases that are under our scope and how that what we learn can then impact the work we're doing. So
Absolutely.
we do a lot in precision medicine and voices in clinical trials. We do a
Biosimilars.
lot in access to treatments
Yep.
and the unique individual etiology or the way the disease presents or grows within
Yeah.
our own selves. So we
Yep.
have to look at those and say, all right, we're here, what can we attend that will help us, number one, build our projects and make them more robust and have more impact, but also what along the lines of those issues does our community most want to learn.
Right.
And those are kind of the two that we parallel in. And like Deb said, we meet a lot of people and those relationships are absolutely
Oh,
invaluable.
yeah.
I'm gonna circle back to that, but I think when we're talking about the learning and what how we incorporate what we learn and who we meet into projects, I kind of want to go into that a little bit more Deb, you
Okay.
made a great list about
Yeah.
just some of the, just a handful of some of the
Yeah.
things that we have participated in, some of the
Mm-hmm.
sessions that we went in, and
Mm-hmm.
were able to derive information and then incorporate it into our existing projects, but will be
Oh yeah.
disseminating it to more of our patient population
Yep.
through an online site. Why don't you tell everybody, kind of give an overview of some of the things that we've been able to learn from being at these conferences?
Sure. I some of the different topics that we've actually hit in particular. I've gone to some of the nutrition type classes, just or sessions, to learn more about what's been the latest and greatest on autoinflammatory diets and things like that. And I will say it got pretty specific into different things to like the cryogenic type therapies and all these different kinds of things that we hit on. There was that session. We did the e-health session, which we learned about some of the online apps. And sitting in that session, I was on Facebook on my own page and reaching out to people for our AiArthritis Voices and just trying to find out from our stakeholders what apps, what are you guys using? And it was so interesting to find out that, what did they say? It was over 200 apps are created every single day
Yeah.
on health and e-health, and but very few of them make it to market. And some of the ones they were talking about were just it was so interesting. We also hit on gosh
Well,
the
biosimilars,
biosimilars in particular.
well,
That was
that was a big one. The last conference we went to, the American College of Rheumatology,
yep.
it was we had four or five of us that four. We had four. We took four
Yes.
with us because we do need to take more people to these bigger conferences because we are people living with the diseases. So, in addition to dividing and conquering, we need to be smart and say if one person needs to take a break, they need to take a break. So we have to
Right.
plan for that. It's not, we can't just send two people, for example. So that's another reason why um, you know going to these conferences is important, but they do cost money because we need to bring
Yes.
more people. But the biosimilars one, I was thinking about that one the other day, and there's different types of sessions. So there are
Yep.
sessions where you can go during the day, but then there's also sessions that happen in the evening, and there are these dinner sessions that are usually sponsored by pharmaceutical companies. The
Right.
pharmaceutical companies are
I
not
remember that
there.
one. Yep.
I just what they just they're there well, they're at the conference, but they're not
Yes.
speaking at these. They have
Right. Right.
doctors and speaking, but they had
Specialists. Yeah. Specialists that
specialists.
actually specialize in these type like that particular topic. It was biosimilars. They had three of the renowned people worldwide that were speaking about those.
And
Yeah.
they were speaking from a rheumatology perspective
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
potential barriers and benefits, and the kind of debate on whether patients, or when, I shouldn't say not whether, when patients should be uh, put on biosimilars.
Yep.
And we are starting our own biosimilars education, patient to patient peer education group
Hmm.
in an online community that we talked about today, earlier, with National Data Bank, who's going to house all of the data for that. But that's why we wanted to go, so as we wanted to learn as much as we could from the rheumatology's perspective. So when I say our talk show and our mission, it's all about making sure the patient voice is an equal. To do that and to solve the problems, we also have to listen to the sides of others. And
Absolutely.
that's why we went. We were the only patients in that room.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. And everybody was, introducing themselves around us. And we're like, yeah, we're the patients.
They're like,
Yeah.
really? Why are you? Because it was like
Uh-huh.
7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. We were there till 10. And we could have went home and
Oh, yeah.
and rested or went to a social event. But this was so important that we could hear what the rheumatologists were saying
Yep.
candidly
Exactly.
to each other,
Exactly.
so that we could understand their viewpoint. And I think that was just a
Yes.
really good example of that we could never have that type of experience if
Right.
we didn't go to these.
I
And
do. One other thing I wanted to mention is what we actually learned this year at the American College of Rheumatology, the ACR. We had trouble getting into some of the core precision medicine
yes, we did.
titled meetings that we wanted to get into. And we are going a back route now. I actually became a member for being a dietitian. I was able to become a member, so now I will be able to have access to some more of the scientific meetings. So we found that as a very irritating thing as being patients, because at ULAR we don't have that problem.
Mhm.
And it's a very different feel at ULAR. You are welcomed with open arms into meetings. I mean, you can tell patients by looking around the room, but at ACR, it's not as welcoming. I really didn't feel it. I felt so excluded this time. We even offered to pay full price,
Mhm.
and they wanted
That's
us.
how important it is that we
Yes.
get inside track on precision medicine, because we have 3 projects that are
Yeah.
based on precision medicine.
Yes. And it was, I mean, we even in the 11th hour went up to the, registration booth and said, okay, can we pay for, me to go sit and listen? Because I would understand what they were talking about versus it's expensive. And then they wanted us to pay the full day's wage of $1,300 for
Yeah.
one session. And we're like, yeah, no, we can't afford that. That's why donations are so important. And I can't say that enough for us to get into those sessions. And we are, people that understand that language, and we don't have a problem deciphering the medical lingo. And it just it costs money, and for us to have our airfares and our hotels, usually it's hotel at ACR, but we've done apartments before. And it's just an easier way for us to debrief, and we're not going from hotel room to hotel room. We're just sitting in a living room, and
Mhm.
cooking our own food, so we're making the most of the money we do have. And we're not blowing it, that's for sure, on frivolous things. We're there for all of you. So we are here to share that information and share back with you. And I think our Facebook lives that we did from Spain were, awesome. I mean, we were dumping information. We were also, I mean, I was taking notes on everything that we were talking about at that point. And it just, it's amazing information, and it's cutting edge. And we want
Yeah.
to be there for you guys too.
Yeah. And so just to kind of go into this a little bit more before
Hmm.
we sort of go full circle here and start to wrap up on the tail end with the importance of the relationships. Let's stay on the
Oh,
projects
yeah.
here for a minute. One of the things that you said, Deb, was now at the ACR, American College of Rheumatology, and versus that's the major scientific rheumatology meeting that happens in the United States, and but it is international. People from all over the world come in, and then you have the same one half year, in summer, which is in ULAR at different locations in Europe. And in Europe, the patient is very welcome
Oh,
at these conferences, as Deb said. It is
there's chairs everywhere to sit
I
down.
know that you can't. There's really anywhere to sit at the ACR,
Yeah.
but one of the things that you, as a person living with the disease, is you can buy a ticket to go
Yes.
to the conference. You cannot do that at the ACR. You need to be brought. You to be part of an organization or brought in
Hmm.
by an organization. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight of that will toggle us in to these relationships, and why it also is important. So it's important because we learn, and we're able to bring that knowledge to strengthen the projects that we're
Yes.
working on. That's the first thing. I'm going to circle back to the other part of learn. So I'm making myself a note. Then the second part is the relationships that we build.
Yeah.
And it's we have a global network philosophy at our organization. And what that means is we believe that together we are stronger,
Mm.
and we not only build relationships with the stakeholders that are your doctors, your researchers, your nurses, your pharmaceutical companies, that they're
Mhm.
at the table too, but
Mhm.
other organizations. We have strong relationships with other organizations that we started from the get-go. And
Absolutely.
we
They
see
want to get to know
them,
who we are. Yeah.
yeah, we see them at these conferences, and we'll visit the booths, and we don't have booths very often anymore, but we will talk, we will catch up on what are you doing? How can we share? How can we learn from each other? Or what we started doing recently is if they're going to a session, then we could say, well, we went to that. What did you learn from that one? So it's almost like we're able to learn from each other in a magnified way as well.
And they'll send us
Sharing.
some slides. Yeah, if anything is pertinent to anything, any of the diseases that we focus on, they will send slides that they've captured to us so we can learn from them.
And then so the it is very obvious to people who are European who come to the ACR as international guests that the difference between the patient involvement is quite drastic. And an example of that is while Deb and I were at the ULAR, the one in Madrid last year, somebody from ULAR, from ULAR Pare, which is their organizations that fall under the umbrella of the European Union, and they
Mhm.
come together and they share ideas, and they have their own group meeting.
Mhm.
And our organization, and then also CreakyJoints, our Global Healthy Living Foundation. So shout
Yeah.
out. In 2018, we were the only two non-European based organizations invited to participate in ULAR Pare. And because of that, when
Mhm.
Deb and I went to Madrid and we saw their working group, we were able to go because we had already been invited in the door.
Mhm.
And we learned a lot about what the other organizations throughout Europe were doing and how we could possibly help. But what was the most interesting at the end, you know what I'm going to say?
Yes, I do. I know exactly of who we met, who came
So
to us.
yeah, so we're sitting there closing up shop and getting our books together and everything, and the former the former I think I want to say
President.
president of
Yeah.
ULAR Pare came up to us and said, "We need your help." And we said, "Okay," and
Yeah.
and he
Here to
said,
help.
"What? And where? What is it?" And he said, why is the ACR so unfriendly when it comes to patient participation?" And because it's completely different. And how can we think that you are the organization who can help us bridge the two? And Deb and I looked at each other and
Bridge the
said,
gap.
we can do that. So
Yep.
I got his card and I said, could we reach out and figure out a way that we could start to facilitate this? And we brainstormed a couple ideas with them, and so we'll see what we can do. But it was
Yeah.
a great example too of how we were identified as that international patient voice that could bridge the two conferences that in
Right.
essence could benefit patients from being able to attend. So that was a pretty big compliment. I
It
think.
was. Oh, it was absolutely a huge compliment. And again, because you had already spoke up and I had spoken up in that session already. So he knew who we were and came right over to us as soon as it ended. And again, the thought of we said, yeah, we see it as a being a big problem too. And we are from the United States. And, we feel the crimp on not being welcome. At those particular meetings. So, yeah, it was fabulous. And that it just jumped out to both of us. And we just like, well, okay, well, that was a home run because, you know, who else would he go to and ask that question to?
Yeah, that is something that we're is in the process, in the works. We're
Yep.
still speaking with a lot of people, different stakeholders, to figure out how we can advance. But that's just an example of not only the type of meetings and sessions that we're able to go to,
Yep.
but that relationship. And I want to throw one more out there. Deb had mentioned e-health,
Yeah.
and it was at ULAR that the last one that we attended, that we were very interested in how e-health is evolving, because at the time we had just started our projects for preparing patients for precision medicine. And this project in particular focuses on educating patients about the atypical versus the typical, and how we're all unique. And we are very strong advocates at our organization for ensuring that all patients have access to the best treatments at the decent time, so that
Mm-hmm.
avoid disability and unnecessary damage. And so this is ingrained in many of the projects. Well, in order to get all of the voices at the table and fully understand those subgroups and reaching all people,
Mm-hmm.
we needed to understand better about e-health. And so this particular session was it focused very strongly on the utilization of telehealth and apps and online health portals, so that people who may not have access to doctors as readily, live in rural areas, or there's just a shortage or what have you, that they are still able to be treated and their voices can still count. And so we wanted to learn from them of how we could then correlate to the work that we were doing within our own models of
Mm-hmm.
outreach. And one of the things that was interesting, we had already marked that as important. We
Right.
need to start, because we need to facilitate that ourselves. But Oralee, she is a researcher, a rheumatologist researcher that I met through working at OMERACT, which is the Outcome Measures in Rheumatology. They are a team of doctors and researchers that partner with patients as equals, and we work on these long term, I mean, we're talking years,
Yeah.
projects. And I also brought Deb into that as
Mm-hmm.
well. So
Mm-hmm.
Deb is on a couple of the working groups with me now. But Oralee, I met at OMERACT, and interestingly enough, she had asked if I would be part of another project called it's clinical trials in synovial tissue, done through OMERACT, and also her work through EULAR. And I said, well, I definitely would be interested in helping. But it's about getting a biopsy in your knee. I've never done that, but Deb has. And so so here we are, already planning on going to the eHealth and meeting with Oralee so I could introduce Deb, and we
Yeah.
could start to they wanted to enlist the help of AiArthritis, our organization, to assist as patient voices in that project. And here's Oralee presenting as the panel, and one of the panelists in the
Yep.
eHealth. And we just laughed and said, wow, what a small world. What a small
How
world this
full
is.
circle it came. Yes,
Comes
it
full
did.
circle. And the reason that I'm also bringing that up is twofold. One, it really demonstrates how important knowing people, meeting people, these conferences are, because that was an important topic for us. And even though we can take furious notes or
Yeah.
photos of the slides, having the insight to then be able to follow up with panelists for additional information, or even
Right.
possibly work on our projects with us,
Mm-hmm.
that's completely invaluable. And
Right.
there's no way to do that if you're not there face to face. And there will be a continuation of this segment of conferences, and we wanted to
Mm-hmm.
expand on this conversation on other sessions of the AutoBall as we continue doing these through Wednesday, because it is through the conferences that we have splintered out and we're growing impact. One of them is we are teaming with Oralee,
Mm-hmm.
and Oralee is going to come back tomorrow with Deb and I, and she's going to give all of us an update on e-health now that we're in the COVID era. So
Here we are.
here we are. And, we were learning all of these wonderful things that they were planning to build. And it was like eHealth, they kept saying, well, it's not ready. Things aren't ready yet. We're right on the cusp. We're right there. Well, guess what? Now we're all here. So we're very
And
interested.
been having e-health
It,
appointments and everything else. Yeah,
exactly.
we've
And
been right
so
there.
Deb and I had gone back over the notes, and we had a call last week, I guess, for
Yeah.
about an hour. And we went through all of what we had
Yeah,
learned.
I typed everything up for Tiffany. I said, hey, I can download this into just let me, I've got to go back through and look through everything and just 3 pages of typed. My hands were tired after that.
Sure. But what was so interesting is what we had learned there and what was planned for e-health. It now that we're in this new unprecedented era, some of that is not going to work, or some
Right,
of it
because we're
wouldn't
looking
work
at, yeah,
because we're living it now. And well, you have to tune in if you want to hear what those are.
yes.
But so we invited Orly to come back and talk to us about that topic.
Mhm.
What was planned? What can move forward? What might not work now?
Yeah, what gets
And
scratched?
yeah, and that's part 2 of this extension, and then we're coming back. You guys are
On
getting
Wednesday.
excited on Deb and I. We're coming back on Wednesday, and we're going to have a doctor and an instructor from Washington University who specializes in telehealth and e-health, and she's going to help us in a discussion about specific patient to doctor office visits, because there's been a lot of talk of situations where maybe the treatments are not being met, and Deb has a few stories to share along those lines. And I also talked about this in a mini episode a couple weeks ago, so we'll make sure that we post that for you as well. It was a short 10-15 minute episode where I asked these questions that we're actually going to ask Orly. So you might want to check that
And
out too, that mini episode.
our podcast that we can go back to from ACR last year, that was the 3 of us talking.
That's right. Because we are also, while we have Orly, I mentioned we're working on a project about synovial tissue that they are collecting in the knee in clinical trials, and that is for precision medicine. The materials that they would be collecting from these biopsies are then being used to identify better treatments, so that
Mhm.
so that it's a precision medicine project that we're working on, and we are going to give you all an update on where that
Mhm.
is, and tell you how you can get involved if you're a person living with
Yes.
these diseases. So we need your voice on those as well. So that will be with Orly tomorrow. But again, all really started with the with the conferences. I mean, how
It
much
sure has, and who
this
we've met,
this
right?
has grown. And let's just circle back here quickly and talk a little bit about that, who we've met. And it's been uh, I don't even know, like 60, 80. I mean, the amount of organizations
Yeah.
and friends that we've made over the years. And I have to give a prop to Tammy Kesky Brown, co-founder, because back in 2013, when we started going to the ACR, when we would have breaks, she would go to all of the booths
Right.
and introduce us.
I
And
remember that.
we did
Yeah.
the first project we ever initiated at our organization, which is leading the AutoBall up to on Wednesday, is World Autoimmune Autoinflammatory Arthritis Day. Now, back then we called it WAD, which is just a terrible name.
Yeah.
Now
It's a wad of something.
oh, what's WAD? But now we say AiArthritis Day. It sounds much nicer. And so she would introduce people to this day and say, it's not our day as an organization. We
It's
established it
all of ours. Yeah.
as a global awareness day where we could all come together and focus on this cluster of diseases. And the thing she was really helping try to explain is, just because if your organization, like, I'm going to give another shout out. Let's give a shout out to American Autoimmune Related Diseases Association, or ARDA. We do
Arda.
tons of work with ARDA. They
Mm-hmm.
cover all of the 100+ autoimmune diseases, but they're always the first. Katie, shout out from
Yeah.
ARDA. She was the first one to sign up this year. For as soon as I sent the email, within 5 minutes, it was like, I'm on.
That's
Yep,
awesome.
we're in. But
Awesome.
the point is even though they cover all 100, and they're not joining because they're trying to favor the ones with arthritis in any way, shape, or form. The whole point of the day is to raise awareness for public and for medical professionals, because if the professionals can look at an autoimmune disease or an autoinflammatory disease and they see some overlapping features,
Mm-hmm.
it is an immune mediated condition, and then they say, oh, it also has arthritis, ding, 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 could be one of these cluster of diseases, or it could be the other autoimmune. So
Yeah.
it's not that they're necessarily favoring one or the over the other, or giving more attention to one or the other. They realize that okay, if it's not one with arthritis, then it could be the others. So they're getting just as much awareness. So the day is kind of twofold, but we established most of the relationships based on that
Hmm.
one project,
Yep.
and then just simply talking and going out. And then when we started partnering on projects and seeing our work ethic and the good outcomes and that we would produce, we have a lot of people that come to us and want to work with us, and
Hmm.
that all comes from meeting them in person
Right.
at these conferences.
Absolutely. Right. Anka. And yeah,
ANCA
yep.
ANCA stands for European Network for Children with Arthritis.
Thank you for
So
the
no
acronym.
problem.
Yep. And
And we
I
all
can.
ICANN, which is Irish Irish Children's Arthritis Network. We just saw them when we were at ULAR. We
Yep.
met them finally for the first time. But there's also meeting them, and then there's also the socials.
Hmm.
So after you have the meetings during the day, then some of these organizations will have events at night. We had a social. We had a
Yes.
social. The first Friday night you arrive, we partner with Lupus Allied Diseases Association, with the National Infusion Center Association. So that is NICA and LADA, and also U.S. Pain Foundation and CreakyJoints. And then this
Hmm.
last year, the Gout Alliance
Yes,
also
they
had
joined in.
joined. They
Hmm.
joined in as well. But we host a social, and it helps to be able to connect with a lot of different stakeholders. But then we get invited to theirs as well.
Hmm.
And we have pictures. We got to get these pictures out and share
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
Beautiful event, the Arthritis Foundation
Oh yeah.
at ACR last
Yes, it
year
was. Yes, it
that we
was.
went to, and we were very excited. There was only a handful of other organizations that were there that we
That were
saw.
invited. Right. That
Yeah.
were invited to that one. Hmm.
Um, so
The
go ahead.
arthritis research. A arc. Arc.
Arthritis National Research Foundation.
Thank you.
We use a
I
lot of
know.
acronyms, and that's why we wanted
Yes.
to change our acronym from IFAA to AiArthritis, because people would say, "Well, what is IFAA?" So it's okay. Well, AiArthritis, I kind of get what you do. But no,
Yes.
they have smaller smaller breakout where you meet the researchers. And the
Mhm.
last time we went, again, I believe it was in 2019, we were the only nonprofit there.
Yeah, that is true because the rest of them were researchers and
Hmm.
everybody kind of knew
And
each other
patients,
from in that.
there were other
Yes,
patients that
yes,
were there as
yes.
well,
Absolutely. Yep.
but we were the only nonprofit. And it's just it's being able to go and speak with people on a personal level, because now
Yep.
now you don't have to talk shop. Now afterwards having some dinner, maybe some wine, and that's when you really start to develop relationships and friendships
And
and
click with everybody. I mean, seriously, if there's usually it's Tiffany and I, but for the ACR we bring a few other people along, and the relationships click with different people, and we kind of divide. We'll sit at the same table, but then we'll break off and go meet other people, and just like, hey, we're from AI Arthritis.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, who are you? And bring things forward that way.
And
Yeah.
volunteers too, because just
Yes.
being at some of these socials, there's other patient advocates who maybe have brought on from
Hmm.
other organizations, and we start talking to them, and then they end up volunteering with us as well. And we're not stealing them. I want to make that
No.
really clear. There's like Deb.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of volunteers that volunteer at many different organizations. So, and that's
Hmm.
completely fine and encouraged. I mean, why not? If
Yeah.
they and be it more. And so,
Yeah.
but they meet us, and then they say, "Wow, I love what you're doing. I didn't even realize what you guys did. Really, now I get it." And then they come in and
Hmm.
realize that we're a big family. So those
Yeah.
are just points that we wanted to really stress how important. And the other one that we met through these conferences was the Rheumatology Nurses Society. That was
That's
huge,
right. That's right. Was that
huge.
through not the
We
last?
met them twice. You and
Right.
I were at
Okay.
ULAR in
Hmm.
Amsterdam,
Right.
the year before. So
And I actually met
2018.
the president in the UPS line, and we started talking because you asked me to go pick something up, which I was in
Mhm.
line, and this woman is in front of me. She turns around, starts talking, hands me her card, and I was like, oh.
And then we
Yep.
were invited to an intimate dinner with doctors. We were the only organization
Hmm.
at the dinner, and there was 15 people, and
Yeah.
and Rheumatology Nurses Society. There were three I think from there. Then Deb and I, and then that was amazing because I walked in. Dr. Traum, the doctor that diagnosed me, was at the table. I thought I have arrived.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because then you'll see people. That's what we're finding is, again, through all these relationships, we're building these relationships, and and we're identifying people that are at the table. It's
Oh,
because of
and
these
and
conversations.
from Omerac, Vivica
Oh, yes.
Strand,
Yes.
amazing rheumatologist, love her, met her at Omerac, but she was also one of the keynote speakers at the
Yes.
biosimilars
Yes.
that we
Dinner
had
that we went to. Yep.
last year, but this is talking 2 years ago. As
Yep.
soon as we walked in, she goes, Tiffany.
Yep.
And I mean, so again, getting that type of level of notoriety and respect.
Hmm.
It's just amazing. But then we had our social with Vlada and Nika and US Pain and CreakyJoints at the time, and they were invited. And that's when you and I went over and we
Yes.
told them all about the Precision Medicine Project and the AiArthritis online, the AiArthritis Voices online community that's opening this week. And we said we would really like to talk with you more about this project. Ended up that we had some follow-up phone calls and found out that while they have been very engaged in advocacy and
Hmm.
legislation, their
Hmm.
weak spot was research. And we went,
That's us.
yes, I did just throw my pen.
Yep.
I said,
Yep.
welcome home.
Yes.
and
Yep.
so
And we
and
can help you with that.
yes, and so they are helping us on several projects now, and in return, once everyone starts going into doctors' offices again, they are going to be sharing our resources and getting us more connected with patients so patients can get involved in our projects and all circles. So that,
Yeah.
and they are on our community council. We every Most nonprofits will have some sort of council where it consists of some pharmaceutical companies, some other organizations, some other
Hmm.
stakeholders. It's just a kind
Yeah.
of a group of
It
stakeholders
keeps building.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, that come together a couple times a year and talk about projects and try to figure out, brainstorm together from different stakeholder points of view how you can
Hmm.
expand your work and make it better and make
Hmm.
a greater impact. And after that, this is the second year now that Rheumatology Nurses Society has signed on to be on that council. So they are literally now one of our inner circle
Which
groups.
is
And
awesome. Yeah.
we will have Carrie Beach. She
Oh,
will be
yeah.
here tomorrow afternoon to talk a little bit about those projects. And also, she's on the Rheumatology Nurses Society COVID-19 town hall meetings that happen on Facebook every Thursday night. So while we've got
Fabulous.
her, we're also
Yeah.
going to tap into COVID because I mean she knows she's been
Yeah.
on
She's
every
right
meeting.
there. Yeah.
So
She's right there.
so we'll have it. But again, just a great
If you guys can
example.
see, yeah, just seriously how, again, if we
I need
hadn't
to
been.
find my pen.
Okay, I'll keep talking. So if we go to these meetings, this is how we're creating these relationships, and the relationships just keep growing. And you can see how cyclically a lot of our conversations, again, Tiffany and I are going to have the other two times we're talking with Orly and then with Lisa on Wednesday. But again, you're reconnecting something we've been talking about again from conferences and how we've met these people from the Research Nurses Society. And it's, did I say research? Yeah,
Rheumatology.
thank
Yeah,
you. I'm
it's
like, that
brain
didn't
fog.
sound right. I hit
Right.
that.
I
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah.
it's
So
okay.
yeah, but it's again without the funds to get there, we can only get so far. And you guys can see how much impact that actually has with us being at the table and having these building these relationships and learning so we can, like, debrief to you guys so you can learn as much as we've been learning.
And in full transparency,
Mhm.
our books are open where, we share how much to the dime with our vocal impact partners, which are our
Yeah.
monthly donors, starts at $10 a month. And that gets us a lot of times to these conferences,
Yeah.
and we give them broken down, not estimates, broken down to the penny of what we've spent on these
Right.
conferences, so that they know where their money is going. And like, it typically averages about $1,000 a person
Mhm.
to these bigger scientific meetings,
Mhm.
because we've got airfare, we have hotel. Oh, not hotel. We actually realized we would save money by doing Airbnbs.
Yep.
And it's better for our conditions because we have more space and privacy if we flaring. And it's a little bit more price wise, but we save on the food
Big
because we
time.
don't
Yeah.
have to go to the restaurants for every meal. So we'll cook, and it's nice to have the downtime too. We're all in our pajamas in the
Yes, we
living
are.
room,
Yes.
downloading for the day, eating our spaghetti. Deb and
Yes.
I made some meat and spaghetti.
Oh, it was so good. And again, going through the grocery store and not knowing exactly what you're picking out.
Oh, well,
Or
that was in Madrid. We don't speak
yeah,
Spanish, and we were really sad
yes.
trying to figure out how to shop. But that's a whole different story.
Yes,
That's a
yes.
whole different story.
But yeah, again, we save a ton of money and then we had leftovers the next night.
Mhm.
So we're
And we
not
also,
wasting money.
depending on who we're bringing, we always also have to budget for scooters,
Hmm.
for people who can't walk very far. So
Hmm.
sometimes we've got 4 people with scooters, sometimes we have 1, sometimes none,
Yep.
or it happens mid-conference,
Yeah, it's
and
like,
we
okay, my feet are
suddenly
done.
you
Yeah.
say, I can't do it anymore. And so that is our obligation, to take care of the volunteers that are there with us. So it really does take its toll. And before we wrap up and go back to that, Deb, I just want to give a plug to, we've kind of referenced this AiArthritis Voices online community a couple times, and you
Hmm.
might see that it shares a name with this talk show. So this talk show is AiArthritis Voices 360, which is really about getting globally all these patients at the table, where we might be able to travel or tour or be, at a conference, and bring people back
Hmm.
in with us. So there's a little bit more of a face to face, if you will, or collaboration that can happen with the podcast. But with this online site, it's not a support group. It's nothing quite like I've ever seen at an organization.
No, there
It
is
is
nothing like it.
it is literally our mission in a site where you can talk, learn, and connect. And so all of the conversations when you first enter the site are very generic. They're the same type we would have on social media. And then you also have access to a lot of the stuff that Deb and I or other people at our organization might learn, even if it's not at a conference. It's something that, we have picked up in a meeting, or, if we're on
Hmm.
coalition. And that whole section is to, if we learn, you learn.
Hmm.
So we have this whole section set up where people can learn. And I wanted to point that out, because that's really where this part comes in with
Yep.
that site. That the talking is the conversation, the connect is connecting with other stakeholders that we work with, but the learn is coming
It's
almost directly from these conferences. And so it's such a huge part of that online community, because it's a huge part of what we do. And
it's the latest science too. It's not like we're looking back in
mhm,
like research manuals that are 10 years old. I mean,
yeah.
we're learning what the researchers are coming up with in real time.
Mhm.
So it's the latest and greatest information.
And how we hope to connect the two, this talk show and the online community moving forward, is as we do these shows, which are all really designed to bring you to the table. So
Hmm.
in the first round of a show, we will put a topic out, and then we ask you to come back and join the conversation, give us your thoughts and opinions. Then we revisit in a future podcast. So now we're at the point with the podcast shows, with these talk shows, that we are revisiting a problem that we talked about before. For
Hmm.
example, I mentioned I did a mini episode on e-health a few weeks ago. That was the introduction, putting it on the table. Now we're going to build on it and invite Orly and revisit what we learned at the conferences. So you can start to see how everything we do evolves, and then we will go back in the online community and invite you to learn more, to speak more in a private setting. So it really ties together. And when we go to these conferences, we do have equipment that we take with us. We started at the ACR. I have this big suitcase.
Got a suitcase.
Yep. With microphones and headsets. And while we're there with these researchers, with these doctors, with these other organizations, it's a way that we can take this podcast and really stream it to you. And again, that brings you a whole new level of conference participation.
Absolutely.
For sure. And then finally, we also are going to be introducing what we're calling volunteer committees that are part of when we go to conferences. So it's a little, you might, if you're a person living with these diseases, and you may be thinking, oh, so it's like online attendance, or, we can tweet, or no, it's more like you're our team. And when we come back at the end of the day and we're downloading the information, you're on the call with us.
Yes. And you're thinking through the information with us, and you're giving us your impressions and then, what your questions or what your thoughts are.
Yes. And then also will help us to download the photos and the materials that we have into our file folders. Like, because we're so busy when we're there, what we've realized is we learn so much, and it's very difficult for the people who attend to then disseminate all of it and separate it. And so we need volunteer committee teams that, as a thank you for helping us to filter through this information, we're going to bring you with us as much as we can. So if we have a team call, you're on that team call. So that's going to be kind of exciting. And we haven't worked out yet the donation levels, but being able to do that and have the extra time to train and all of that's going to obviously take money as well. So to have virtual participants, we'll still have to figure out what that roundabout budget is. But as we wrap up, Deb and I have both mentioned budget several times.
Yes.
So you may have seen a theme here. At our organization, we're 9 years old, just as of May 7th, and we're moving into the next year strong. And COVID did take away this AutoBall from us. We were supposed to have our first event, our first gala in St. Louis, Missouri at the National Museum of Transportation. And we had some sponsors. We were going to obviously have tables and fundraisers and raffles and all kinds of good stuff.
Education and everything.
And we were going to be podcast live. That was always part of it.
Yes.
And so we were going to be teaching people about the podcast and attendees, etc. And we lost all of it. And we literally lost every dime that we were supposed to generate from that event. And in order to be able to still move forward and attend these conferences and build on the projects that are going to change the lives of millions, we need donations. We need support from our community. And that's one of the reasons we're doing all of these, so that people see our value and see what we're doing. And we're just flat out asking for support. Where we
haven't been that abrupt before. And I think it's time, because again, we can't do this work. We can't share back with you. We can't help you learn about your diseases unless we have the funds to get there and to take the time to come back. Again, it's my time when I'm on my couch making my, building my mountain from my couch. And, I'm sitting there on my time, just, typing away and things like that. But that's when I feel the best, and when I have that energy to do that kind of stuff. So again, we can't do it without you guys.
And it does take manpower. I mean, this whole, like this AiArthritis Voices talk show and the online site that are going to be wrapped into the conferences as well. We have a production team. We have, hey, Ryan. I thought he might poke his head out there. And I said that he's recording here in the backdrop. So he's not listening to us. So, hey, that Ryan guy.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. That's about as briefy as he was going to
But
get.
all of this, the bottom line is we think that what we're doing is valuable, and we just can't keep doing it if we're not chosen as an organization that people are donating to. So
Yep.
I know that Ryan's going to post that donation link, and we certainly would appreciate your support. And if you're interested in really jumping in and supporting us regularly, we did launch our Vocal Impact Partners, which is a VIP, and it just starts at $10 a month. So if you do a reoccurring for $10 a month, then you'll have access to inside e-newsletters. I mentioned the breakout of what it costs to go to conferences. And we even share some behind the scenes, like silly photos, that
Oh
we
gosh,
might have.
yeah,
So
and we do have fun too. We really do have fun with all the learning because again, you've got to take those mental breaks, otherwise, we'll implode. But yeah, it is all about you guys, and I'm a VIP, and you can make a full $120 donation. I don't like to do the reoccurring ones, just my own personal thing to keep track of, but I was happy to do the 120 and to be a VIP and to get all those insights and learn more from Tiffany and everybody else that's part of of our group. And there's many of you out there. So any donation amount is never too small, but again, take little bites and we will take anything.
yeah, absolutely. And the link is aiarthritis.org/VIP. We make it simple.
Yes.
But also you could do a one-time donation. So again, we really wanted to do a episode focusing really on letting you see when we go out the impact that we can have. And just a shout out to all of the organizations and people that we've met along the way. Cause I mean,
we couldn't do it without the well, what do we say? That it may not be our expertise, but it's the next person's expertise. So we bring the best to the table.
Yes.
And it's from all these communications and all these organizations that we've met along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Deb, I want to thank you for tuning in here. And I'm glad that my internet didn't die.
Crash. It didn't crash.
I guess I'm doing this from the dining room. Oh, I'm not in the dining room. I'm at a conference.
Yes, you're at the auto show.
The auto show.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for tuning in and taking your time to learn a little bit more about us. And we'll be doing this for the next couple of days. You can register at aiarthritis.org/AutoBall. And if you register, we'll email you with an update of the remaining live episodes so that you can tune in live if you'd like tomorrow, or you can still watch these later. So, but either way, you'll get the links to them. And by registering, we will put a nice package together so that you could go back after the fact. And if you missed anything, you'll know where to find it. So it's free to register. So, so there you go. But Deb, thank you. And
it's my pleasure.
I just love having you as a friend and a volunteer. And
I love what AiArthritis does. I saw the passion right away and knew it was someplace that I belonged. So,
well, you do. We love you, Deb. And thank you all for tuning in and supporting the work we do. Couldn't do it without you. So thanks for joining us tonight. Ryan, you can come back.